All right, what's up, everybody? So listen, right? I decided to do a research study on self-volition and free will, and um, whether people practice one more than the other, right? And partially the reason why I'm doing this is because personally, right, I believe that the dislikes of the world, or should I say the undesirables, and goes to each individual how they discern undesirable to be, right? I believe they stem from the exercise of free will. And I know this may upset a lot of people because when you often hear about free will in discussion, you hear of it as something that is highly favored. Say, we got free will, we have the choice to do this, that, and the third. So with my take on it, my notion is that that actual freedom is something that is destructive, and is something that turns into dissonance. And even this happens even when it's not even noticed that it's being done, because as I said before in another video, the ego kind of like drowns everything out. So you lose track of just how much you're doing on your own accord without the consideration of the next fellow human being. And what you do, right, this is my notion as well, by the way, it's my thesis, is that what you do when you exercise your ego, you exercise your free will, is you disassociate yourself from the collective. So again, I know people will say, well, that's good. I want to be me. I want to be solely me by myself, and, independence. And I strive for the same thing. Don't get me wrong. At the same time, what I'm saying is, do you believe, what I'm asking is do you believe that you are actually not part of a collective? Do you think that we are not woven as one fabric? And I mean all of us. Do you feel that you are an outlier, like you are a true disassociation from the rest of the species? And if you do, I mean, you have a valid argument. We can debate this till the sun goes down, or whatever you want to call the sun, what happens to the sun, right? We can do that. So back to what I'm saying, though, that's what I believe that the ego does. And, I'm not telling you to put a damper on your ego, which represents your individuality, your dislikes, your likes, your internal motivation and drive, your self-expression. That is what your ego is about, right? And the way that I'm about to do it on this study is, because of course I'm bringing it back to astrology, right, is that I'm comparing and contrasting the sun and Saturn. So the sun, of course, would denote individuality, would denote the ego, and Saturn will denote self-volition. Now, self-volition is merely the decision to say, is the decision to refrain, right? It's the decision to say, okay, I know I can do this, I know I can do that, however, I'm going to limit myself. And there are some instances where you're limited already. Your capability is limited anyway. And that's like almost a forced self-volition, right? You got to say, oh no, I can't buy that item because I only have $53 and it costs $99. That would be a case of self-volition. However, let's say you got $150 and you want to buy that item, your ego could get involved and you will say, you know what, I'm going to go buy that item. When self-volition will tell you, you know what, it's not exactly that time because I got to pick up a couple of other items and I don't necessarily know if I'm going to run out by the time I can use that item to get more money, whatever the case may be, right? That's self-volition. So there's a study that was done by researchers to where they hook that thing up to your head. I think it's called an electrograph or something to that nature. They hook the electrical things up to your mind, and they ask you questions, and then what they found is that there's a signal inside of your brain which makes the decision before you actually move any body part to make the decision, including your tongue, right? So tie this into things that influence you, or what triggers are, or what elicitors are that cause. This deals with causality, right? Cause and effect that cause people to make the decisions that they are about to make. So it's like you have a predetermined cognitive sense of what the things that's going to happen, and that largely has to do with ego. Now, as I spoke about earlier, you also have self-volition, which is that I guess you can call that conscious moment that combats the self-conscious. So when you hear that voice or that elicitor or that trigger that's about to make you make that decision, you actually stop it midway and say, no, you know what? I'm not going to do that. And you may base that on a cause that is relative to a certain amount of people around you, or a certain amount of people in your family and things of that nature, right? So, what's the big deal about collectivism and individualism? Well, I tell you this. In the nation that I reside in, which is the Americas, or United States rather, this is a high individualistic society. Okay, and what you find in high individualistic societies are a lot of CEOs, a lot of people who are at the forefront of large factions and institutions, and they, more than anything, guide the direction of how those institutions carry out business and day-to-day activities. And collectivism is found more, and let me also piggyback on this. Rich people are found in individualistic societies, and you can find like among the elite to be inside of these societies, if you will, if you want to call them that, based purely upon their money. We can get deeper into it, and you can understand that that's not always the case. And in fact, some people are placed in this high individualistic realm because they are the ones who are going to say, do this, do that, do this, do that, do it the way I told you to do it, or you're fired. And they're put there for that. And that kind of control mechanism allows that guidance to be predicted to some point. Okay, so if I'm an investor and I say, look, we need these numbers, you didn't produce them last time, you got to produce them this time. That CEO is going to go make it happen if he has to fire half of a workforce. You understand what I'm talking about? So that goes with individualistic societies, and I'm not basing my decision on how I feel about them based upon that description either. You know what I'm saying? They do what they do, or you do what you do. And there are times when that comes across as people do get richer, and societies get richer as a whole, and it may not be seen as something that is bad. You know what I'm saying? So I'm real or moral here when I'm doing these descriptions, is what I want to tell you. All right, so then we have the collectivist part of the world, which you may find among the poorer people or the people who have less. And it's more of a collective mindset that says, you know what, we all work together, we accomplish this goal, we accomplish this task, teamwork makes the dream work, and we get along with our daily routines, despite that type of foot on the neck that can come from an individualistic figure or entity, right? Now, what would be cool to know is you may find collective societies among the wealthy as well. However, it's a whole different topic. It's a sensitive topic. I won't go into that as of right now. Some things you got to hold back. So what I did, right, is because I ran a little test on myself, because the sun is sextile with Saturn as of right now, it presents an opportunity to combine the both to see if I can have a healthy ego and still practice self-volition. So with the sextile present, with the sun in Libra at the moment and Saturn inside of Sagittarius, I decided to do this study. Now, with Venus and Mars inside of my 7th house, which is Virgo, I had these super herbs to go and contact a woman that I've been wanting to contact for a while now, and just tell her I'm on my way, no matter how she felt about it, and was just like, let's go do something probably super sexy at the same time. You know what I mean? This is how I was feeling. And when I looked at that energy there from those planets, I can understand why I was feeling that way. And, I took a look at Sun in Libra, and I said, well, you know what? What's one of the weaknesses of Sun in Libra? And I said, self-indulgence, you know what I mean? Or dependability, you know what I mean? But it's in the 8th house, so I took a further look into it and said, this is where I think about my partner's resources, our joint resources, and mortgages, leases, and things of that nature, right? Taxes, all of that. So when I'm thinking about this for myself, and mind you, I don't necessarily know these things about the partner that I was about to pursue. I said, well, let me think about this for a minute. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know exactly where she's at with all of her things, and I may be jumping the gun here. And mind you, I have, I'm obligated to do higher learning right now, and Saturn is inside of Sagittarius. So I weighed those things together, and I made the decision to stay behind, to not express myself to this woman and go based purely upon my urges, and to use self-volition. However, at the same time, right, I had this feeling inside of me that I wanted to express myself in the artistic world. So I took advantage of the moon being inside of Pisces, which is a creative outlet. And I said, somehow I'm going to get something off. This is where the opportunity comes for me to actually exercise my ego without bringing any type of detriment to me or my partner, right? So I went there and I started doing more work on the musical project that I'm working on right now. So I did the writing, I made the beat, and all these things come easy for me, you know what I mean, in the musical realm. And then I started thinking about how I had to contact a teacher of mine and get one of my reports back from her that she said I needed to revise, or I would face a penalty because of the way that I handed it in. And it was an honest mistake, and I can revise it, but for the life of me, I could not find this document. Like, it's not in my records. All of my records are archived except for this one particular document I could not find, right? So I'm going to go email her shortly and try to get that back and revise it and everything, because those are the hard things to do. Those are the difficult things to do. You know what I mean? It's tedious. I don't want to do it. It's not like making the beat and rhyming over it and going in a booth. It's not as simple as that, right? So this is another comparison you can make with the self-volition and Saturn and the ego and the sun, is that the ego and the sun is going to be things that are second nature, those things that are so simple for you to do. But the things that are placed inside of self-volition and Saturn are going to be those things that you're going to have to work hard at. It's going to be the hardships, or you're going to experience the hard knocks of life. You're going to learn the hard way. You know what I mean? So there I go, and I'm exercising these directives, if you will. And I have a dream last night that showed me a combination, gave me insight into how to go about a matter that I can actually put into my writings, because I write books too, that I could put into my writings for this book that I'm working on, and that I could relate to real life. You know what I mean? And if you don't have experience in dreams and astral projections and stuff like that, like, this is one of those dreams that could be terrifying. However, it's not that for me, because I am experienced. I know how to pinpoint an anxious feeling and turn it into making conscious decisions based on a thorough assessment. So that's really what happened in this dream. And that gives the proof of how you can seize the opportunity of the sun and Saturn being in sextile to exercise a healthy ego without really overriding self-control. Because, as I said, my thesis is the undesirables, or the unwarranted things that we observe or experience in life, are due to free will, are due to the excess self-expression and the disregard for self-volition. So that's my take on things today. I hope you enjoyed, or some of this resonated with you. To all you viewers, also I'm on the verge of making a school. So all of the the videos that I said I was about to make about Scorpio, hold on to that thought. Those things I'm going to keep secret, because I still believe that secrets should be kept. Despite all of the secret societies, cats out the bags and all of that, and some people claim that they know all of the secrets of the secret societies and all that stuff. I don't think that that's entirely true either. However, I think a lot of great things were built on secrets. I don't think that secrets are all bad. And I want to hold the tradition of the 8th house and the 12th house, which deals with Pisces and Scorpio. And I want to keep some secrets under wraps, however, that we can talk about together as a collective. I may have some type of subscription thing going on with the site that I create, where I'll also be teaching some astrological things. All right, everybody, I'm out.